Hey everyone, welcome back to FavsChat. Today we are diving deep into episode 2 of Perfect Crown, and trust me, this episode is filled with tension, ambition, emotional backstories, and a lot of strategic moves between the characters. So let's get right into it. The episode begins by taking us back in time to a flashback from the 64th archery exhibition held at Seonggyeongwan. Right from the start, the atmosphere feels tense, especially between the two prominent families competing that day. Min Seok in particular keeps making subtle but clearly disrespectful remarks toward Huiju, trying to undermine her confidence in front of everyone. However, Prince Ian steps in and firmly asks him to stop, showing early signs of his sense of fairness. Meanwhile, Jeongwoo, who is on the same team as Huiju, continues to support and encourage her, giving her the motivation she needs to stay focused. Even the king is present at this event, and he doesn't seem pleased. He expresses his discomfort about Prince Ian following the archery grounds to remain open for too long, hinting at underlying tensions within the royal family itself. From this flashback, we return to the present moment, where Huiju and Prince Ian are in the middle of a serious conversation. He asks her to clearly state what she wants, and Huiju doesn't hold back. She confidently lists her strengths, her wealth, her business intelligence, her striking appearance, and even mentions her unreliable brother, almost as if she is presenting herself as a complete package. Despite her boldness, Prince Ian calmly turns her down. Not far from them, someone secretly tries to overhear their conversation on behalf of the Queen Mother, but fails to catch anything useful. At the same time, Irang calls for one of the Kim family daughters, not because she has genuine interest, but because she enjoys setting things in motion and watching the outcome unfold. She also mentions wanting to meet Huiju later, suggesting that she has her own plans brewing. Even after being rejected, Huiju doesn't feel discouraged. In fact, it only fuels her determination further. She tells Hee-jung that Prince Ian is probably just playing games by claiming he is searching for love. When Choi-hyun later hears about the situation from the prince himself, even he seems to agree with Huiju's interpretation. Huiju becomes convinced that she understands what Prince Ian truly wants, and she decides she will win him over no matter what. She contacts her peer manager and asks for a discreet favor. Soon enough, she gets detailed information about the prince's schedule. Over the next few days, she starts appearing everywhere Prince Ian goes. Since he is currently on leave and spending time alone, Huiju cleverly uses this opportunity to cross paths with him repeatedly, making her presence impossible to ignore. At the same time, she attends a blind date arranged by her father, but instead of trying to impress the man, she intentionally ruins the meeting. She bluntly tells him that he wouldn't make a reliable partner. Unsurprisingly, the man feels insulted and backs out of the arrangement. Later, at an art exhibition, Huiju runs into Choi-hyun and casually jokes about buying artwork from Prince Ian's private collection. This light moment soon leads to something more serious. Choi-hyun later tells the prince that he saw Huiju with another man. Although Prince Ian tries to remain composed, it clearly bothers him. He is even more irritated when Choi-hyun suggests that Huiju might have been sent by the Queen Mother. Prince Ian firmly rejects that idea, insisting that Huiju and the Queen Mother are completely different people who could never align. Choi-hyun, however, playfully wonders who would come out on top if both women were placed on equal footing without their titles. This comment clearly doesn't sit well with the prince. Elsewhere, Irang reflects on a painful memory from the past. The day the king intended to step down from his position, overwhelmed with anger and fear, she destroyed the official document before it could be announced. She even declared that she would rather face extreme consequences than let it happen. Soon after, a devastating fire broke out, and the king tragically passed away. When Prince Ian arrived at the scene and saw his brother lying there, the shock left him speechless. The only thing he could think of was the safety of his nephew, the young heir. Even in the present, this memory continues to haunt him, causing recurring nightmares and severe insomnia. Choi Hyun does his best to look after him, but it's not an easy situation. Back at the palace, Irang prepares the young king for his first official appearance without Prince Ian by his side. However, even Prince Ian himself is unsure whether the boy is ready to handle such responsibility. The event turns out to be the economic honors of Korea ceremony, where distinguished individuals are recognized, and Huiju is one of the awardees. Hee-jung reminds her to remain composed and professional throughout the event. Unfortunately, the young king becomes overwhelmed and calls Prince Ian for support. As expected, the prince arrives and ensures everything proceeds smoothly. When Huiju receives her award, she asks King Yi-un to place the ceremonial hat on her head. Then, she turns to Prince Ian and playfully asks for a gift. He responds by saying she has already received one from the king. During the photo session, he intentionally stands slightly behind her, creating a subtle but noticeable distance. After the event, Huiju promotes her achievement online and prepares for a vacation. She later meets Prime Minister Jeong-un for dinner, where they reminisce about their school days. Their interaction makes it quite clear that Jeong-ho has had feelings for her since then. Meanwhile, Prince Ian's condition worsens. His fever rises and he ends up resting in a hotel. Choi Hyun quickly goes out to get medicine and suggests visiting the royal hospital. But the prince refuses due to concerns about internal politics and unwanted attention. By coincidence, Choi Hyun runs into Huiju, who immediately steps in to help. She calls her private doctor, who advises the prince urgently needs proper rest. Huiju even registers herself as the patient to keep things discreet. Back at the palace, Irang criticizes the young king for depending too much on Prince Ian. She worries that he might grow up to be just as fragile as his father. Later, as Prince Ian rests, Huiju and Choi Hyun share a quiet moment, talking about how the prince dislikes being the center of attention and avoids causing inconvenience. They both know that if news of his condition spreads, it would lead to widespread speculation. Suddenly, Irang arrives at the hotel. Choi Hyun quickly tries to hide Huiju, but the queen mother notices her belongings and eventually discovers the situation. She demands that Prince Ian return to the palace the next day to explain everything. The following morning, the situation escalates. News spreads rapidly and the media begins speculating that Huiju is secretly involved with Prince Ian. Some rumors even go as far as suggesting unexpected developments due to a photo offer with the doctor. While everyone else panics, Huiju remains calm and sees this as an opportunity rather than a problem. However, her team is extremely stressed trying to manage the situation. Irang, on the other hand, sees this as the perfect chance to damage both Huiju's reputation and Prince Ian's public image. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Jeong-oh views the scandal as a convenient distraction from ongoing political issues. Instead of going directly to the palace, Prince Ian retreats to his private residence and asks Huiju to meet him there. Once they are alone, he apologizes for the situation and warns her that she may face public criticism. When he asks what she truly wants, Huiju finally reveals everything. She wants to marry him, not just for love, but to prove herself and rise above those who underestimate her, including her own family. Prince Ian is initially offended, feeling that she values his title more than him as a person. But in a surprising turn, he ultimately agrees to the marriage. However, he gives her one final warning. She must be ready to stand against the expectations of an entire nation. And that's where episode 2 comes to an intense close. If you enjoyed this detailed explanation, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to FavsChat for more breakdowns like this. See you in the next episode.